Now, it's the Monaghan Way with myself, Sean McCaffrey, in association with Northern Sound, episode 5. And again, we're just taking another little deflection off the regular path of GAA for this week. Obviously, following on from the weekend past there, we know Monaghan now into the last 8, a quarter final, a weekend off for them this weekend, but not a weekend off for us. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Scarlett Herron, well-known Monaghan lady, well-known on the soccer scene, and also well-known now as well on the media end of things, because indeed it was down in the Boxwood Athletic Grounds where I crossed paths once again with Scarlett, and I said you'd come on, maybe have a little chat with us. So Scarlett, first things first, thanks a million for joining us, much appreciated.
No, thanks for having me on, Sean.
As I noted, maybe just briefly, a touched in with you down at the Boxwood Athletic Grounds. You were down there, Monaghan taking on Down, an incredible game of football.
Oh, it was deadly, wasn't it? Yeah. I think Down were looking run away with it the last few, and then Monaghan just seemed to, I don't know, they were taking over scores, Down just couldn't. So it was a great game.
It was a very, very good game. Yeah, it was so well game managed, I think, by Monaghan in the last maybe 10 minutes, whenever they got that ahead by the 1 or 2 points and game managed it out. And I suppose maybe, I know pundits afterwards were speaking of the experience of being in Division 1 football for the best part of a decade. I know they dropped down last year, back up again for next year, but that experience is a key thing.
Oh, I think so, yeah. Just, I don't know, like Down with their league campaign this year. I know they were unlucky to go down, but you can tell that those sort of players don't have that experience that the Monaghan lads have of even seeing out a game and knowing the right times to go for scores and the right time to keep it. You know, simple stuff like that. And you look at the likes of like Desi Ward, and you have Ryan Wiley and all in there, and who've been playing county football for the best part of 15 years. And yeah, I think even if you look at Pat Haver and just what he brought to Down as well the weekend, I think they needed more of that on Sunday. But yeah, we won't complain about it.
We will not know a last 8 awaiting. Well, that's not what our focus is going to be today. Our focus is actually on yourself, as I noted, well known on the footballing end of things. So you are, but it's the soccer I know that you're heavily involved in. Maybe we'll go back firstly. You're a Monaghan lassie, and where it all started for you to be in the soccer game.
Yeah, so started off from the minute I could probably walk, playing with Monaghan Town down in Belgium Park. So I think that's sort of the fortress in my mind always when I come back home is there where it all sort of started, and obviously out in Gordy Keegan as well from time to time. So yeah, started off here until I was maybe 15, just playing with the lads, because I know there's obviously girls teams now in the area, which is brilliant, but 15 years ago there was no sort of girls team. I was the only girl really playing soccer in the area. There was 2 or 3 girls from Cavan that were playing, but apart from that, I can't remember coming across any other girls in the sort of Cavan Monaghan district when I was growing up. So yeah, it's different now, which is great. And it's funny how it's only a few years since sort of I was at home playing. It's only maybe 7 years ago when I was still playing with the lads, and how much it changed. And now you have the development squads in the CMUL for girls, which there wasn't. I was part of sort of typical Galway Cup, Kennedy Cup sort of squads that, like, you wouldn't see that now. You wouldn't see a girl in a Galway Cup squad or a Kennedy Cup squad. It's all Gainer Cup, which is great, and it's brilliant now for girls coming through, that there's more opportunity, I suppose, for them now to play with girls their own age, whereas I was playing, not that it's a bad thing, but playing with lads who are in my year in school, obviously, and stuff, it's a different experience to what a girl would have now, non growing up.
Absolutely. And it's amazing you said the development that's taken place in such a short period of time, and you're the prime example of that. But I'd imagine where you find yourself today in football, and I'm thinking from the physical aspect of being in and playing among the lads, that was a major development for you as a player.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And I think like that sort of said to me a lot. People come across you and say, "Geez, you know, you play with the lads for the guts of 10, 15 years when you were younger." Yeah, I think it does add a lot to you in terms of even character as well. You're not beaten down as easily. I think there's this sort of thing in women's football that we're probably, girls are just naturally a bit more emotional than lads playing in terms of if you get left out or whatever, or if you get a bad tackle, you might take it a bit worse or take it personally. I think that probably helps me on that side of things, not, you know, taking stuff on the chin and taking hard hits and being able to hit twice as hard back. That was sort of what I was taught when I was younger, and my dad has a few stories of me when I was younger maybe getting hit out in the football pitch and someone saying to him after the game, "Oh, your doll, my wee boy hit your doll in a game or whatever, and she hit him back twice as hard," and all this. So I think that's sort of the main things you learn, and I can definitely, it definitely stands to me now, which is, it's funny because I'd nearly say it was better for me. I'd rather that than have grown up with girls' teams. So it's funny now how it does change. But I'd be interested to see now in 10 years the next girl, hopefully from Monaghan, to come through and play football to a high level, her experience, because I think it would be very different to mine.
I was just going to say that you'd imagine it would be very, very different. And by the way, the standard of football, and particularly for ladies' football, it's building and building all the time. Obviously, because there's more girls getting involved in it. Obviously, because the development squads and this development work has been put in place as well. Because there's no point in seeing any different. Some girls would have been put off at the thought of having to go out and mix it with the boys or be part of a boys' team.
Sorry, Sean, I just lost you there for a wee second.
Sorry, Scarlett. No, I was just saying that the standard of ladies' football obviously is increasing now all the time, particularly at ladies' level, because of these development groups and the development work that's been done there, as I said. Because at a time, a girl probably wouldn't have felt comfortable or certainly wouldn't have thought that she'd have the capability to be going in and playing in a boys' team. There'd nearly been the fear of going in to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's great. Now there's a lot more focus on the sort of technical side of things for girls, developing them as early as possible and getting them into teams maybe from the ages of 5 or 6 and building all the way up, which is brilliant. Like I know that Argent Gorda Keegan, there'll be teams from under sevens all the way up to an under 18 team. I don't think there's as many senior teams, but there's still a senior league in the Cavan Monaghan area now developing, which gives girls that opportunity again to step up to a senior level whenever they're ready, just like in the lads games in Monaghan. And then obviously if you're, I don't think the Monaghan Cavan league standard is at where it needs to be, but I think in a few years it'll definitely get there, and it gives girls that sort of stepping stone to be able to go on to maybe a different local team like Drogheda or Dundalk, where I went when I was 15. So I think there's definitely a lot more opportunities there, and it's great that there's so much more development and much more focus being put on like sort of girls football that you wouldn't see 10 years ago. There wasn't any talk about it at all, really. And now it's just that opportunity, like you see in Gaelic. We've had it for years and years where there's just opportunities for girls. There's just teams. It just wasn't a done thing that, oh yeah, I'm sending my wee girl down to football, to soccer training tonight. It was never really a thing with us being a big GAA orientated county. It's just the way it is, just the way it was. But I think now that's changing, and it's just like anything. When you're young, you want to be playing as much sport as possible, and if you're a child who loves sport, you want to be playing basketball, athletics, football, Gaelic, whatever you want to be doing, and it just gives that extra sport for girls now to have an option to play. And if they enjoy it, then brilliant, go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're talking about being young and enjoying the football. You mentioned your dad, Colin, there, and of course your mum, Audrey. They're former owners of the Hillgrove Hotel with us here in Monaghan Town. There's many a story told of a young Scarlett maybe dribbling around guests as they were coming in through the reception with ball at feet.
I know. I actually remember a story my dad told me a while ago of when I was younger. There was a wedding on in the hotel, and Dad was doing this thing where he comes down to the reception when they come in the front door, Mr. and Mrs. whatever for the first time, and Dad went and congratulated both of them, and all of a sudden, between his feet, a wee girl comes sliding in with a football, and he brushes me away or whatever, and he goes to them. Jesus, some parents don't know how to manage their children. Little did they know that was his own little girl sliding in. So yeah, I think I probably got him in a bit of trouble a few years ago, but I think he's glad for it now where I've ended up. So
I was just going to say that, but there must be a massive element of pride now when he sees where you were and your journey. You noted it took you outside of Cavan Monaghan to get your football, so it did. And you headed then senior football, obviously, with underage, under 17, under 19, with Peamount at loan, and now you're with Shamrock Rovers.
Yeah. So I started off in Dundalk for maybe just 6 months, right before COVID. So it didn't really get going. It kind of shut down then for a year. They were just playing in the MGL, which is the Metropolitan Girls League, which is kind of like a Leinster like district league. So not to the high quality of sort of a national league would be. And then after obviously COVID shut everything down for a while, which was probably good for me because that's when I kind of realized in COVID that I wanted to pursue football properly and I wanted to really go for it. So then after that, myself and Darren Smith were in the Monaghan Harps car park one day, and he was on his phone or whatever. We were at the ball wall out in the car park, and he was just on his phone and seen that Peamount United had trials for an underage team in the next 2 weekends or whatever, and he said, right, should we give them a ring and we'll see, like, because I didn't know what the standard would be like. I didn't know where I stood in terms of what other girls in the country were like. I barely knew there was a Women's League of Ireland at that stage, and I was 16 at this stage. And anyway, gave them a ring and I went up for trials, and that's kind of how I got going. Then was there at Peamount for maybe 2 years with the underage, and then ended up getting into the senior panel, but couldn't really get many minutes. That was the year after Peamount had won maybe their 5th league title. So they were a very, very strong team. Had the likes of Anya Gorman and Stephanie Roach and Karen Duggan and great legends of women's football now. So then that's when I made the move to Athlone to get more senior minutes, and that's exactly what happened. We got to the FAI Cup final, played in front of 6,000 people, which was great at 17 years of age. You know, it's nerve-wracking going out in that crowd in Tallaght Stadium, but something that's I'm kind of used to now, which is great. And then after a year there, went on to Shamrock Rovers in 2023. So that's where I am now.
It's an incredible journey again, I say, in a short period of time. And also for a young person, might we add as well. Like, it must have been fairly daunting. And I know by your personality, you're not phased by anything, but it must be still fairly daunting to have to travel out of the region here to get the football. I know Dundalk is a pathway for a lot of our local footballers here, but then to head to Dublin, head to the Midlands, and then back to Dublin again.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? A lot of driving for my parents when I was younger. Even I remember doing the leaving when I was with Athlone and driving up on those dark winter's evenings. I don't know if you've ever driven straight from Monaghan to Athlone, but the roads aren't pretty. There's no motorway there. It's all windy roads up to Cavan and then through. So yeah, definitely a difficult time. Like, you know, you're driving 2 hours and then training 2 hours and then driving back home during your leaving cert, and you're going straight after school. You're not home until 11:30 at night, and then you're up the next morning at 7 o'clock for school. So I look back on it now and I go, geez, how did I do that? But I suppose at the time you just kind of embrace it. But it's a lot handier now. No real travel for me. It's half an hour to training, which is, I couldn't imagine that 2 years ago, having only to travel half an hour for training from UCD to Roadstone, where we train with Rovers. So it's made my life a lot easier.
Absolutely, yeah, but it showed the commitment and your your willingness to get to the high pinnacles of this game, that you were committing to that, Scarlett.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I've fallen out with my parents countless times of maybe in January or February months when there's ice and snow on the ground, and me going, no, I need to get to train, and them driving 2 hours on those awful roads in awful conditions to Athlone, and they're on the way back trying to want to kill me for nearly putting our lives at risk to get to feckin' football. But I just loved it, and I was obsessed with it from such a young age that I'd do anything to get there. And I think I was like, got my driving test done the second I could, and I just wanted I didn't want any excuse for not making training. If mum or dad couldn't bring me, I just wanted to be able to get there, hail, rain or snow. So I think that's sort of the attitude I had towards it at a young age.
Absolutely. You just noted about Darren Swift there, and you mentioned about Monaghan Harps on the ball wall. And again, I'd be familiar with those areas, and indeed Darren, who you spoke of. And I'm very familiar with your time playing actually for Monaghan Harps. I had the pleasure of seeing you playing in a couple of games when we were doing video commentaries. You had a big call to make, obviously, then as well, because you're a very accomplished Gaelic footballer also. But you had to make a call at some stage. It had to be one or the other.
Yeah, and I obviously grew up playing with Monaghan Harps. That was probably my first club, and obviously Gaelic was probably my first sport as well growing up, as it is for most boys and girls in Monaghan especially. So yeah, grew up playing with the lads again up until maybe under 14, playing with the same lads I played football with. So it was kind of nice in that way to have the same sort of group of friends, which I'm still friends with now, which is a great thing. And then moving on to playing with the girls then from maybe 15 years of age, 16, when you're not actually allowed to play with the lads anymore. So then playing with the Monaghan Harp senior ladies and with the minor team, and then having stints as well with the Monaghan County panel. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time there, but it comes to an age, maybe 16, we have to say, right, like I was training 6 days a week and then at 2 games on a weekend. I was playing 90 minutes in a football match on Saturday, and then playing a 60-minute game for Monaghan Harps on the Sunday. So when you're young, you don't really realise it, but at the time I was probably a bit burnt out. Just after a year constant doing that, I just decided that I needed to call one off. I think I've retired, as they say, from Gaelic maybe 3 or 4 times. I've come back for a few one-off games with the Harps the last few years, but I think that probably done now at this stage. Since I moved up to Dublin and everything, it was just too a bit too accessible when I was living 10 minutes from the pitch. Just pop down at any stage and
Yeah.
hop into the jersey. But yeah,
You'd strike me when the phone call would come, you wouldn't like to be letting the club down either. You,
no,
you know that they're playing with more or less the same lads that you were playing the soccer and the Gaelic whenever the mixed team was there at the underage. How did the lads find it if they looked out and they suddenly thought, turn and say, "Oh well, I'm marking a girl today," like there would have been that element of the fella probably thinking, "Oh, I'm going to have a handy one here." Now I know you've told the stories. If you get hit, you hit back twice as hard. But I'd imagine there was times maybe when you found yourself in a scenario where lads were looking and going, "What are you doing here?"
oh definitely, yeah. I think that was something that you just kind of got used to. But I
Yeah,
think the lads I was playing with kind of just knew, yeah, like it's just Scarlett, like yeah, to kind of just take me in as one of their own sort of thing. So I think as time went on, I think everyone kind of knew Monaghan Harps or Monaghan Town have that girl, and it's kind of you're kind of just known for that more than
yeah,
anything. But I think it's one of those things where people just get used to it, and then after a while, it just becomes normal. But yeah, I think definitely at the start, if you see you'd have comments from sidelines of, "Oh, you can't get beat by a girl," all this, all that sort of stuff. But not, everything's a bit harmless now, to be fair. But yeah, definitely a weird probably thing for them to see, especially years ago. But I'd like to think that that wouldn't really be the case anymore.
no, absolutely not. And I think it is a case that there's more compatibility, there's more an acceptance now. As I said, that you have the mixed teams at underage, and obviously then, as you noted yourself, there is a split then when it goes that it's all male and it's all female. But again, I could just envisage. I think we've moved on an awful lot maybe from them scenarios. But again, where there'd be lads looking out and going, "Ah, come on, you can't be letting a girl beat you," whatever the case may be. And I take it as time went on, whatever bit of sympathy you would have been getting in the early days, that quickly diminished whenever they say, "Well, you're giving as good as you get."
Yeah, and I suppose that's what you didn't want. Like you'd still hate that even if you're playing five-a-side. You hate when people sort of take you and say, right, well, sort of go easy on her or not, sort of go in as probably as hard into a tackle as you would if it was a lad. But that's what you don't want, and that's what I didn't want. And I think the lads at Monaghan Harps, Monaghan Town learnt that very quickly, and I think the coaches made them aware that she'll take it, like give it to her and she'll give back to you, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
again, I think that's something they just got used to, and I probably got used to, and I think it definitely stands to me now because I think now I'd probably still have the sort of thing on my head that's run through a brick wall sort of analogy. I don't think I've probably very fearless on the pitch. So I praise the coaches I had when I was younger and the lads around me to sort of teach me that way, because a lot of girls now probably won't have that element of toughness in them. I hope that they still do, but I'd like to see, again, as I said, the next 10 years and see what girls coming up from Monaghan who are playing in underage girls teams are like, to see it. They're probably more technically acute and probably
Mm.
technically better than I was at their age, which is a different sort of way to look at it. But it'll be interesting, as I said, to see.
Absolutely. And you spoke of development, and you've developed yourself up now playing, as we noted, at Shamrock Rovers. Should also be noted, you're an under 19 international player of the year as well. So you are, that shows, I suppose, your involvement at international level.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time. Obviously, with the under 19s, we went into European qualifiers. I've played in some amazing countries. Played against England, played in Portugal, Poland, Norway. Like played against some big nations like France and Norway, who are all very very good at women's level. So yeah, I really loved that sort of period of my life. Those 2 years were really special to me, and it kind of go up a level again, like playing against teams like France, and they're in full time. Those girls were in a full time setup. They go to school together and they train 3 hours a day in the same vicinity, and that, like, we don't obviously have that. We don't even have anything close to that. So to play against them, where they're obviously so technically gifted as well, they've been in academies full time since they were 6 years of age, and this is the girls now. Like, it's not just lads that they have this for. And to sort of come up against them, I think we lost 1-0. We played them, and probably put it up to them quite well. And it's mad to see the sort of differences when the effort is put into a team and when the effort's put into sort of developing the game. And I think that's something that we need to look at in this country. I know there's a lot of talk at the minute, if anyone pays attention to sort of the women's national team or anything, that a lot of players have spoken out about how we need more contact time, and that's sort of the buzzword in the FAI at the minute, is we need to put more effort into our younger players, and we need to put more effort into grassroots and developing players up, because at the minute, I don't know if we're getting that. And with national teams, international teams, sorry, as well, you're only in for a week every 2 months or so. That's what we were in, and like, you're playing with girls who obviously you'd know, but you're playing with girls who maybe are from Cork, from Limerick, from Sligo. You don't really know them, and you're coming into a camp with them, and you're expected to play with them. If you're playing right wing and your striker's from Sligo and you barely know her, you're not going to know what she's like in terms of how she wants the ball played into her. Do you want it to feet, or do you want it out in front of you? Like, it's simple things like that, and that we need to, the contact time would help with, and also just the technical side of the game. I think we're always going to be known for that Jack Charlton style of play. They're tough to beat. That's what Ireland are, and that's what we really are at women's level as well. So I think it would be great if we can sort of get rid of that sort of name we have to ourselves, the Irish way. Obviously, you need to be hard to beat, but if we need to add something to that, and it's the same with the men as it is with the women, and I think it would be great if we can get something going, that even more development teams at a younger age, development squads now, for players who maybe aren't in a senior panel or something like that. It would just be, I think, be very beneficial. And even we used to have a home base training squad with the Irish senior team. So what would happen is, when Vera Pauw was in, she would collect home-based players, so players based in Ireland, as opposed to bringing in Katie McCabe or Denise O'Sullivan. You'd bring in only home-based players once a week on a night that no team in the country was training. So it was on a Monday night, and it was that no teams were training on that night, and you'd bring them in, and you'd basically just have a professional training session where you bring in all the best young players in the country, and you put out a session for them, and they all get to know each other, and you put them through whatever fitness tests, or just put them through a training, put them in a game, and the international management could have a look at them. And I think that's something we're probably missing now. I know there was a lot of controversy about when Vera left, but she got us to a World Cup at the end of the day, and I think I think she did a lot for really she was trying the right things, to be fair to her.
Yeah, she was trying to develop, obviously, in the background. And you noted to me a little earlier when I was chatting to you, there's nearly like a vacuum now. As I noted, you were the under-19 International Player of the Year, but now you're in a vacuum before you'll get anywhere close to a senior squad. I think you mentioned it's under 23, but that's a fair size of a gap between age groups, isn't it? Or even trying to break into a senior squad.
Yeah, so what they've kind of done now is they've made a development squad, which is kind of gearing towards the 23s or 21s, but it's not in any way official yet. We've only actually had one camp since its introduction at the start of this year. So we're in June now, and we've only had really one camp set up, which was for 2 days, which obviously is better than nothing, but we'd like to see that. We'd like to see that expanded and obviously brought in. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Bring us up to Abbottstown for a training session once a month. Won't everyone in the FAI is full time anyway that would be training us, so I'd like to think that would be kind of easy done. But yeah, I think there needs to be more another squad there, because at the minute you go straight from under 19. Like, I stopped playing under 19 when I was 18 years old because of the age. Obviously it's done by year. I'm late 04, so kind of missed out on that next year by a few weeks. But when I was done at 18, obviously won the under 19 Player of the Year for that year, and since then, that was 2 years ago, I haven't been in the senior setup, because obviously it's such a huge gap. Like, to go from under 19 to senior is massive, and like that senior team have represented this country at a World Cup. Like, that's the very top level of elite football in the world. And I think it's very difficult to make that jump. And I think from girls that I've played with who are my age, there's only 2 or 3 that are sort of thereabouts in the squad. Jessie Stapleton's one name that probably everyone maybe would know at this stage, is a girl that I would have played with who's my age, and she's probably the only one who's a dead-on starter. Like, she's 20 years of age, and it's very difficult for that age bracket between sort of 18 to even 23 to sort of get in there, because all those senior internationals are in their prime. They're in their late to mid 20s, early 30s, and they're sort of in the peak of their powers at the minute, and it's very difficult to sort of see anything to aim for as a young player now. It would keep a lot of players interested, because a big problem is obviously always spoken about as sort of the dropout rate for
Yeah.
girls in sport. And I think there's been a lot of girls that I would know who were maybe on my international underage teams growing up who have actually played, like, given up football to go play Gaelic or to go play basketball, or even there's a girl, one of the best cricketers in Ireland, Orla Prendergast, went from playing football internationally underage to playing cricket for Ireland. So it's just funny. If there's nothing sort of down the line for players, they lose interest.
Yeah, it shows, as I mentioned, a vacuum or a gap that's there. And you did, I was just about to say that to you. It's amazing. We hear so much about young girls that drop out of sports at a young age, but here's a prime example as to maybe why that's happening. There's that gap. There's nothing to fill between, as you said, going from when you're an underage player to go into a senior squad, which is a big step. But hopefully, maybe that development then is going to slowly fill the gap. Just briefly, you mentioned there about playing these teams, the likes of France and that, and these girls that go to school together, educate together. That's building a real team ethos. And you touched on it yourself, that you're suddenly maybe going into an Irish panel, and over a week, you're expected to get to know the player and know their mannerisms and their characteristics, and similar to you then as well. It's the same, I suppose, at senior level when they come together. They're only getting these windows of opportunity to be able to work like that.
Yeah, exactly. There's just not enough contact time, and that is the real. It is such a buzzword that's probably overused, but
Yeah.
it really pinpoints exactly where we are as a nation in terms of sort of international football, and this stands for men and women. Um, we were never really a technical nation. We were always sort of against the likes of Spain, France, Germany. We'd always be sitting back, trying to get something out of the game, trying to get a draw, and it's just been carrying on for a bit too long. And I understand that it's a long-term thing. It's not going to be changed overnight, but I think it starts from the grassroots, the underages. We need to get a system in place. Like, you look at England, like, every child who has any bit of potential straight into an academy at Man City or Chelsea or Liverpool or whatever, and they're straight in and they're training every night of the week. And it's just touches on the ball. That's all it is, really. But it's those contact hours that are so important, and it's at that young age where you need to really target the next sort of generation of players. So it's not something that's going to be fixed in the next 10 years, but I think over the next maybe 20 years, we could see a real difference if we sort of find a way to
To
target
folk.
this now, and
Yeah.
we put a plan in place, which I think is up to whoever comes in next, the FAI. Obviously, Mark Hannam has left his role of, like, sort of head of football in the country, so I'd hope that whoever comes in next sort of has a bit of structure to it, and we can put a plan in place for sort of developing the next generation.
Absolutely. I know we're catching you in UCD at the moment, and thanks for
Mm.
taking the call with us here today. Is sports and exercise management that
Yeah,
you're involved in there? So that's similar nearly to what you've been talking about there, development for the future, is it?
yeah, that's kind of exactly it. Yeah, we're doing a mixture of sort of business and science within sports. So yeah, different things like sports governance and strategic plans, as I said, creating them for different organisations. So it's sort of something that I've been made
Yeah.
aware of in the last 2 years, obviously, of my course.
And it's something then obviously you could maybe align with the FAA. In fairness, you're very strongly spoken in regards to what you think should be done. So this is giving you an opportunity maybe to relay them ideas then as well.
Yeah, definitely could be. I'm really enjoying it. It's very different sort of topic to be talking about within sport. A lot of people don't really think about the sort of governance side of things, and
Yeah.
how to sort of improve, and looking at different organisations. It's really interesting to see. And I know the FAI haven't probably had the best history in terms of transparency, but it's interesting now to really get into the nooks and crannies of it and be able to see behind the scenes and what happened years ago. It's really interesting to me.
I was going to say there could be another documentary maybe in the making of that then as well, headed by Scarlett. And as I noted at the start, I crossed paths with you, and I know you were involved with us, in fairness, on co-commentary duties on a journey with the Monaghan Miners back a number of years ago when they got the whole way to an All Ireland minor final. And it was off the ball then that I come across you again at the weekend there as well. So media's playing a big part with you too.
Yeah, so I've been obviously up in Dublin, and I've been getting a bit of experience with off the ball the last 18 months. Started off just doing sort of digital editing, so was editing sort of videos for social media and for YouTube, and doing podcasts and stuff for their different shows. And just sort of this year I've got into doing a bit more reporting on obviously live live games. So really enjoy that sort of aspect of it. And obviously you've really introduced me to that. Sort of showed me, like, I kind of realized when I was working, when I was doing those games with you, the sort of love I had for it. And if you can't be on the pitch for whatever sport it could be, I'd love to be involved in some capacity, and it's something that I really enjoy. So yeah, hopefully get a lot more opportunities. Hopefully see you in Croker one of the days this
Absolutely,
year.
yeah. We'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Quarterfinals, semi-finals, or finals. The intensity, and I remarked it with what you were doing last weekend. You were doing your report in the game. You were down on the field afterwards as well, putting your videos together. And we seen on social media afterwards those videos going up. There's a lot has to be done in a short period of time. It's nearly like playing the game, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the main points is when full time hits, that's sort of the relax for the players, but that's when you need
Yeah.
to sort of kick into action for what I'm doing. Yeah, so it's just doing different match reports and halftime reports, and then it's heading down to the pitch and trying to get the managers and a few players to sort of speak to you about the game. So it's really enjoyable as well to get their raw reaction really as quickly as possible. Because that's, I suppose, when the goal is in terms of media, and when you're going to get the views is sort of straight after a game, talking to a player or a manager, especially if something big has happened in the game. Like obviously Jim McGuinness was given out over the weekend about the
Yeah.
trek they had to make to Hyde Park, and that's sort of gold in the media when something like that happens. So it's just trying to get the story of the game really, and share it with everyone online. So it's really enjoyable.
I take it you know the buzz then whenever you get something like that and you suddenly realize I've got the story here.
Yeah, no, I know it's kind of what you're looking for, and even if it's just to capture the story of a great game, like if
Yeah.
you're going to even Meath Kerry for Meath to get that win, obviously after losing the Leinster final, after beating the Dubs, they've bounced back tremendously. So, I think that, like, there's just stories in every game, isn't there? Like, it's brilliant, and even with the new rules coming in, like, it's just completely changed the game to an astronomical level where everyone's backing it again, everyone's behind it. Even if someone hasn't watched GA in 10 years, I've seen so many cases of people going, geez, I haven't watched the game in ages, but just love it this year. No matter, like, there's no bad games. Like, people are giving out, like, people are saying that the draw for the preliminaries this weekend is a bit boring, but there really is no bad game. Like, it could
No,
really go any way in any of the fixtures. And, like, I don't think I've seen anybody, like a few years ago. It was just, oh yeah, the Dubs win it, or Kerry might have a chance here and there, but, like, I haven't seen anyone even try to predict it this year because it's just impossible.
no, it's a very open championship, so it is. And just finally, I'm just thinking you're in a unique position as well. You've been on the field when the microphone has been probably put up to you after a game, and now you're doing it the opposite way, where you're going out and putting the microphone in front of a player too. As a player, depending maybe on how the game has went, and you get that initial approach maybe for someone looking the word and looking at a line out of you, how quickly can you gather your thoughts? I've often thought, you sometimes catch somebody in that scenario, and afterwards they might think, oh, well, that didn't sound like I wanted it to sound, or you caught me off guard, or whatever the case may be. So I take it you have sympathy if you're catching somebody and you know that you're catching them in a raw moment because you've been on the other side of the mic.
Yeah, and I think that's just something that comes with sort of playing at that level. Everyone's media trained now, so I
Yeah.
don't think we're going to get any of the things you might have seen years ago of people, cursing at the camera, giving out about a referee to the extent that they might have, or giving out about a call or a decision being made or anything like that. So, yeah, I think all players now are aware of sort of how how it could be framed if they said the wrong thing, and how it could be interpreted if they said one thing, even if they didn't mean to put it that way. So I think everyone now is aware of sort of what they say, and probably tiptoeing around a few things as well. So I don't think there's many controversial takes anymore, which is a good thing for the players, because I think um, people would have got a lot of scrutiny a few years ago
Mm.
for saying different things. So it's better to stay out of trouble and just sort of say the done thing. Oh yeah, but even if you lost, oh yeah, tough game, good opponent, deserved the win or whatever. We're disappointed, and go on with it. But yeah, it's definitely difficult when you're put on the spot, and especially after a loss or something where you don't really want to speak to anyone. You just have to sort of suck it up and give their credits to the opposition or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and listen, it's the cliched lines, but we're still in a very privileged position that we get access to speak to a sports person
That's it.
in that scenario directly afterwards. Scarlett, it's been absolutely fascinating. So it has. We touched in an awful lot more little things there than I even expected us to do. So I did. It's looking ahead. I know now for the league for you from a Shamrock Rovers perspective. No doubt you'll be itching and pushing to try and get in on involved in a senior squad with Carla Ward, and you'll be continuing and finishing up on the studies there as well.
Yeah, that's it. So busy period at the minute. I'm off college now for the summer, so it's given me more time to put more effort into obviously with the work, reporting and into football as well. So we're training flat out at the minute. So yeah, that's the goal for the next while. That's the journey.
That is the journey. Well, my thanks to Scarlett Herron joining us here on the Monaghan Way for her journey. Much appreciated. Don't forget, as always, you can check out our previous podcasts on the platforms YouTube, of course, Apple, and also on Spotify or anywhere else that you pick up on your podcasts.